Institute. That's SETI, looking for a cosmic company that's intelligent, astrobiology, and education. But first, some introductory comments by John GERTZ, who's the chairman of the Board of Trustees for the SETI Institute. John?
Well, okay, so I'm first up. Appropriately or inappropriately, here are my pleas to you. That's P-L-E-A-S. We at the SETI Institute are comprised of more or less, last time I counted, about 65 principal investigators or major scientists, about 150 staff members in all. To be honest, we're facing some critical times in our history, our 27-year history of the SETI Institute. Science budgets have been cut back drastically by the federal government for astrobiology, planetary science, and so forth. Our SETI research hasn't been funded by the government for years and years and years. So consequently, we're on our own in many respects to raise our own budgets to do the cutting-edge research that we do and for which we're rightfully world famous. Research that answers the question, are we alone in the universe? Is life in the universe solely restricted to planet Earth, or is it ubiquitous, as many of us truly believe? You can help us in a lot of ways, frankly. And one of the ways is that we've simply decided that one of the things that we can do that magnificently addresses our mission and speaks to our mission directly is to conduct something like SETICon. You're going to have a fabulous weekend here. I absolutely promise you it's going to be open your minds in unbelievable ways. And yet at the same time, frankly, we make a little bit of money to help support our science research that the government, is frankly negligent nowadays in totally funding by simply charging you tickets. You can help us in that regard also by looking at our auction and finding items in our silent auction or live auction that excite you as I'm looking at those items and say, wow, I can't wait to bid on a lot of them myself, and help us out. Go bid on them. Buy some things in our some books from our bookstore, some merchandise in the merchandise shop. Find ways in which, and I invite all of you to look at ways in which you might get involved with us. Some of you may be retired and might want to, and may have the background to become research assistants to some of our principal investigators. You might want to, if you have the financial means, to actually adopt some of our scientists or one of our scientists. You could become citizen scientists in our SETI research by going on SETI Live, and in our ballroom you'll see what SETI Live is all about. You can become docents at our Hat Creek facility and tour people around. There are many, many ways in which you can become actively involved. If you're not from the Bay Area, there is no conceivable reason I can think of why we're Bay Area centric, why we don't have chapters of Friends of SETI in Kansas City and Peoria and everywhere else. So you think about it. Here's my name tag, John GERTZ. I'm the chairman of the board. I'm around all weekend. Hey, grab my sleeve, drag me aside, and tell me what you can do to help us and how we might help enrich your lives. All right, that's it for me. Who's next on the agenda?
Thank you very much, John. John mentioned the silent auction. Don't forget, there's also an auction that's not so taciturn. That's tomorrow in the afternoon. That's the live auction. Next, Jerry Harp, who's our new director of SETI research. He's going to tell you something about the latest plans for uncovering some intelligent cosmic company, described by the media as a quantum mechanic. Jerry has some great ideas for broadening our search for ET. Jerry Harp.
Thank you, Seth. Well, I want to extend my welcome to each and every one of you here. Personally, I'm really excited about being at SETICon. This is going to be a really fun event, in addition to a lot of interesting talks and and learning that will be going on. I've been asked to say a little bit about what the future of SETI is. My group works specifically on looking for extraterrestrial radio signals with the Allen Telescope Array, which is in Northern California. And this is our very own telescope. And it is a unique telescope. It is unlike anything else in the world, although a lot of other arrays are beginning to adopt our designs because they've been quite successful. So we're planning to use this array in these new ways and look for SETI signals in very creative and unusual ways that have not been done before. So this is something that I'm very excited about. In addition, we already have some very exquisite instrumentation at the Allen Telescope Array that looks for SETI signals. It is running as we speak. It runs every day. It looks for signals. I can't tell you that we found a signal yet, but we're definitely looking very hard as we speak. I would like also to just remind you of a few people in my group that you might see around here. Not my group, really. I'm just part of the SETI group. And I would say that the SETI group is quite inclusive. It includes Frank Drake, who is one of the great pioneers of SETI, Jill Tarter, whose career, the first half of her career, we are celebrating tomorrow night at the gala. And Doug Vakoch is in the room, I believe. He's not a hard scientist. He's actually a social scientist. And he studies problems like, why would ET want to tell us anything? You know, what would be their possible reason for wanting to do that? Because there's probably nothing that they can learn from us. And so that's interesting. Seth Shostak, of course, our brilliant media man and sometime comedian. No, actually he's an excellent astronomer. He is the senior astronomer at the SETI Institute. We also have John Richards, who is a senior engineer, and you should be seeing him doing demos tomorrow. And also, I have 2 intern students this summer, Alex Baldwin and Aaron Castellanos. And if you bump into those guys, I encourage you to say hello. So once again, thanks everyone, and I look forward to talking to you more over the con.
We're looking as you speak. I hope we're looking as they speak. The majority of the scientists at the SETI Institute, and this is a point that's frequently overlooked, are actually members of our Carl Sagan Center for the Study of Life in the Universe. Now, you might call it astrobiology, and if you did that, you'd be correct, because that's what it is. Could there be life on Mars, or maybe on some of the moons of the outer solar system? Well, to talk about this work, we have the director of our Carl Sagan Center, Dave Morrison. Dave?
You decided to include me. Welcome, everyone. It's a great pleasure to see so many people here. Although standing up here, all I see is lights. But I'm assuming you're all there and awake. It's my privilege to be the director of the Carl Sagan Center for the Study of Life in the Universe, for astrobiology. That represents most of the scientists, about 55 scientists at the SETI Institute, who are involved in different aspects of this search. We are trying to understand how life begins, where it is, can we find it, and even what the future of life is in the universe. Now, that is a grand and glorious objective. I will tell you right now that so far, we have not found any life beyond our own planet Earth. But not for lack of searching. And much of what astrobiologists do is to look at the habitability of different environments on Earth to understand extremophiles, these creatures, mostly microbes, that live in conditions that would seem awesomely difficult to us. Salinity, temperature, all sorts of environmental conditions that microbes can get along in and the rest of us can't. And maybe that's not surprising. Sometimes people call these primitive creatures. They aren't primitive at all. They have 4 billion years of evolution. a lot more evolutionary history than us big guys do. And so they're very well adapted. We then ask whether similar habitation, whether similar environments could exist elsewhere in our own solar system and beyond, and how we would go about searching for it. I think we live at an extraordinary time because there are 3 different avenues of research in astrobiology, any one of which could, maybe I will even say is likely, to discover life from beyond Earth within the lifetime of most of us in this room. The first is here in our own solar system, the exploration of Mars, Europa, other locations that are tantalizingly similar and yet also different from environments on Earth, where life may have formed and evolved separately, and where we have the prospect with our spacecraft of finding it. The second possibility is with new generations of telescopes looking at the thousands of planets discovered by the Kepler mission. We aren't yet able to look at those individually to study their spectra, but I think it's every reason to imagine in the next decade or 2 that we will find the unmistakable signature, biosignature of life in those atmospheres. And the third part is SETI, of course. We could find the answer there tomorrow. All 3 of these approaches exist within the Carl Sagan Center and the SETI Institute, and we invite all of you to join us in this exciting search, which really looks like it has prospects for success. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Dave. Finally, our Director of Education and Outreach, Edna DeVore. As we search for life in space, the work has another very substantial benefit, I think, and an immediate benefit, and that is interesting the public, and in particular, young people, in science, because every kid is interested in life in space. If you go to a group of adults, ask how many of them think that there might be intelligent life or any kind of life beyond Earth, 60%, 80%, depends on the demographic, will raise their hand. Go into a 4th grade classroom and they all raise their hands. They've seen them on TV. But it's a great hook. Because they're interested, it's a great hook. Anyhow, Edna DeVore will talk about our Education and Outreach project.
Well, good evening. I get to rap. That's nice. That's W-R-A-P. Seth is a very key person in our Education and Outreach program. If you haven't tuned in already, you need to tune in to Big Science, the radio show once a week that reaches out about science to the public. And you can find out about it on our website. I really encourage you to do that. And I'd like to acknowledge that all of the scientists and many of the other people at the SETI Institute are directly engaged in education and outreach. They visit classrooms, they talk to community organizations. Awana Marku works in a 2-week-long summer camp for teachers and high school students. There's all kinds of ways that people across the organization are doing fabulous things in STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and math. I heard something recently that I loved. Somebody said, no, it should be STEAM, science, technology, arts, engineering, and math. And that's really what this event is about, is we're bringing together science and the arts to have a wonderful weekend together, to learn things, to celebrate, and to enjoy how the human perception of the universe is expressed in art, in music, and in science. They're all human endeavors. On a more personal note, I'm involved in the SOFIA program, the Kepler program with NASA. We do a lot of astrobiology outreach. We try to scope our education and our outreach programs so that they bring the science that we do and on the research side to the public, to teachers, to kids, from K to Gray. And that's really the global goal of what we do for education and outreach. And I'm really delighted you're all here because this is outreach, and it's wonderful. Thanks very much for coming. I'll see you soon.
From K to Gray. Is there some way for going back? Thank you very much for your attention. That actually concludes the update, but now when people ask you in the halls, as they